Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is McKay, and in today's episode, we're going to follow up with what we discussed yesterday as far as the SPX, the S&P 500, the short-term bounce area, and what we expect going forward over the next day or two, some options to the upside, some options to the downside. We're also going to discuss more of the mayhem from yesterday. Some exchanges, Bitcoin wicked as low as just over $25,000. I know Coinbase specifically, it wicked below $26,000 down to about $25,300, which is just crazy. I think these were levels we were talking about and expecting, but of course it always happens quicker than you expect. And that also means there could be some, further downside in, the coming days to weeks as well. Now, if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's get to it. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. All right, and then quickly before we jump into the S&P 500, I just wanted to show you the how low Bitcoin did drop on Coinbase, as I mentioned in the intro. So here I have this little red box marking this wick, and if you look over here to the right, $25,354.99. Wow, right? All right, and then that brings us over here to the SPX, or the S&P 500. This is the 4-hour chart, and in yesterday's video, I did discuss that losing this orange level up here of support wouldn't surprise me, that we would potentially drive one leg lower, and if we were going to see any tiny or short-term bounce, of a few percents, that was kind of the level I was eyeing, and it did wick straight down and bounced right off my line from yesterday. Now, the only concern that I have is now I was watching the S&P 500 when it closed today. I'm in a mountain time zone, so for me it closes at 2 p.m. And I was watching it, right up to the last minute. And right when it closed, there was a lot of volume that came in on the lower time frames. And, now it's up here, back up here at the top of this, just below this orange line here that was where it was sitting on yesterday today when it opened. So my only concern now is, yes, we got a tiny little bounce. I was actually trading ApeCoin at the time, and I was timing it kind of with what the S&P 500 was doing when it was down here at this level. And I made a nice little trade on that today for 10%, 15%. I was using 2x leverage, so wound up being about a 30% gain. But I wasn't using very much of my portfolio, very small percentage. I'm a little weary of opening anything long right now just because we're still kind of waiting for a confirmed reversal. But this would be my concern going into tomorrow. We're at basically this level, or this zone, as I've marked in red, of what was previous resistance back here, right? Rejection once, big, downside right here. Came back up, rejection again, more downside. And then it finally was able to break out of that zone, but clearly this little zone right here has some price history of being previous resistance. It never did retest it as actual support, but, once it broke through that, that was when it was able to push up and, up and onward, right? So I guess the concern here is tomorrow, are we going to, start out the day green potentially and just get up here and get rejected? Because if so, what I would expect at that point would just be another drive lower than this low. Unless, it comes back down and does a double bottom. One thing that the SPX or stocks in general, one of the best reversal ideas that I tend to look for would be double bottoms, right? So you can see that here it had a little double bottom, and then that led to a push up. You can see them kind of all over the place. This was basically a double bottom before it came up, pushed up. So do we get something like that and this level holds up? Because if it doesn't, I would imagine that the next level we'd bounce at would probably be down here. You can see there was previous support twice. So we come down here and maybe get a little short-term reversal. But until we put in a higher, low, we're basically just still in a confirmed downtrend. So as far as short-term reversal ideas, I'll be up tomorrow morning super early. The stock market opens at 9:30 Eastern time, which is 7:30 a.m. my time. So I'll have an alarm set, and I'll be watching very closely how it interacts with this previous resistance. Is it going to break through and flip it as support and push higher? At that point, I would expect to run up to this level here. I don't think that's a whole lot of a percentage, though, but because it would be even just a couple percent, about 2%, that could be a 5 or 6% move out of Bitcoin. And then of course altcoins 10, 15%, right? So if we're looking for any short-term long trades, that's going to be our key, is how the S&P 500 opens tomorrow. Now, next up, before we actually discuss the Bitcoin price and kind of what, scenarios could play out for Bitcoin over the coming days, The more concerning chart that I wanted to bring up today, because I know a lot of people that follow my channel or any YouTube channel to do with crypto, or just people that are in crypto in general, tend to like or tend to trade altcoins more than they do Bitcoin. I just think altcoins represent higher risk, of course, but also higher gain potential, and people tend to be just drawn to them a little more than Bitcoin. And so I bring this chart up quite often on my channel, the Bitcoin dominance chart. And as you know, if you follow my channel or know anything about Bitcoin dominance, if this is going up, that's bad for altcoins, and if it's going down, that's good. It really is that simple. I have a video which I'll link in the description where I dive into this in more depth. About a 10-minute video where I explain the complete ins and outs of Bitcoin dominance. So if it is a new concept to you, I'd recommend watching that video. But more or less, what I'm watching here is this is a potential large descending triangle, right? Where you kind of have this level of support down here that's been tested 3 times, right? It's more of a zone, but you have that layered out. So it's a pretty valid pattern because you have that side, and then the top you've also got 1, 2, and right now we are at potentially the resistance of this trend line. And the reason why I say this is concerning, or I guess I shouldn't say concerning, but I had my alert go off earlier today, and this is what I would call caution, right? We want to see how this reacts, because if this can get rejected, head back down here, maybe even lose this level, and bearishly retest and start trending its way this way, that's going to be good for altcoins. It just means at that point that more money will be flowing into altcoins than Bitcoin. And it doesn't always necessarily mean it's good. There is scenarios where money could be flowing out of Bitcoin at a faster rate than altcoins, and therefore its dominance would still be going down. But in general, if you're just playing the statistics and the odds, if this is going down, it should most often mean that altcoins are at least having some sort of a relief, or at least are being more stable than Bitcoin, right? But the reason why I say caution is if this breaks out of this, so this was resistance here, right? When this broke down here, bearishly retested, this was kind of like a miniature altcoin season, actually a pretty decent altcoin season, right? And then this right here, at one point earlier on my channel, weeks ago or months ago, I discussed the potential of this rising channel going all the way up to the trend line and getting rejected. But it ended up breaking down before, bearishly retesting, and we got a little, miniature altcoin season here. Well, now we are finally at this resistance trend line. So if this breaks out, retests, and flips this area that was resistance, resistance. If it flips that as support, then at that point we kind of have to assume it's at least going to head back up somewhere to this level or this level, right? Somewhere up in here, 45.5% to or 46% to 46.5%, and you just won't want to be part of any. You won't want to be holding altcoins essentially, unless you're holding long term, of course, and are okay with just short term price action up and down. But if you're just making short-term trades or even mid-term and this breaks out, that's going to be pretty bad for altcoins. So keep an eye on Bitcoin dominance. Now we're going to move over to the Bitcoin 12-hour chart. I'm not going to spend too much time on Bitcoin, but I wanted to start on this chart. This is a chart that I actually made up for a video, I believe about a week ago, where I was discussing the oversold bounce strategy that I'm going to use, involving Bitcoin being severely oversold on the 1-hour, 4-hour, and 12-hour. Now, if you double-click here and go to the RSI, it did reach, let's go click in there actually real quick, it did reach as low as 18, which would fit my criteria. And then at that point, you're just looking for a run back up at least to this green box, right? And so we did some short-term trades. I didn't post them on my channel just because I think in this downtrend right now, it's going to be a little difficult for me to post a video after the fact. Now, if you want to follow me on Twitter, also my Telegram group, I'll leave a link in the description for that as well that I started. We've only got a couple members so far, but we're trying to grow that community. I will post charts in there and trades that I'll be taking, or at least watching. I'll never give you financial advice, of course, but I will at least be transparent with the trades that I'm making. But what happened basically when that hit that level is that was this little bounce here for Bitcoin of around 20, I guess it was just below 30, dropped below 30 just barely, and ran back up about almost 10% to about 32,600. So that was the kind of move that I was, looking for. But now at this point, we're just waiting for the same thing again, because Bitcoin's still, in a downtrend, and so it can hang out down here in the oversold levels, for quite a while. But the idea is that every time it gets below 20 on this 12-hour, if the 4 hours also oversold somewhere down in the below 20 as well, and the 1 hours maybe down to like 15 or very oversold on all three, then we can do another short-term trade. And each time we'd just be looking to ride it back up to here. Now, as far as any midterm holds, you know, Bitcoin to have an actual confirmed kind of a reversal where maybe we get some price action to the upside for a few days to a week or something, you know, a little bit of a dead cat bounce, so to speak. Then I'm kind of looking at this as on the RSI 12 hour as a falling wedge. I'm just viewing this kind of as a bull trap where it faked the breakout, you know, went back in the pattern and we had a kind of parabolic downside. But what I'm looking for as far as that goes is a breakout of this wedge, a retest of this level here to flip it as support. And then, you know, what we'd hope for at that point is that the RSI could at least make a run back up to the mid levels of around 50, and you could have some decent little, you know, short to midterm trades at that point. And last but not least, I just want to quickly show you two charts that I'm looking at and I've been trading over the past few days as Bitcoin's been breaking down. And these are these 3S short tokens on KuCoin that I've discussed. I'll also leave a link in the description for joining KuCoin if you don't have a KuCoin account. There is no KYC, and you can use it in the United States without a VPN, etc. So it's a good exchange, and it has a lot of these major coins. It has what's called the down tokens or the 3S tokens. And these tokens, you can actually, you're looking at a chart where if it goes up, you're making money, but it's the reverse of the real charts, essentially. It means, like in this case, sand's going down if this is going up. And this was a chart I posted in my trading group a few days back. We had targets. Obviously, it's hit a lot of these targets. I think it was when it was breaking out down here. Yeah, I was saying that we could break out, retest. Here would be a good entry. And if you just look at that, percentage gain just from there to where it's at now, you know, that's a nice little 100 and almost 50% trade, right? And, you know, we also had a pullback entry I did. The pullback entry I did not fill, but it did break out, retest, and push higher there. So that's one I've been watching. Right now it's at resistance, but, you know, essentially you could do the same thing down here all over again. I need to update this chart, but you'd be looking for a break, retest, push higher to hit some of these upper targets. And then something like Solana over here, this is the 3S token for Solana, same thing, it's at this resistance, but you'd be looking for a breakout, retest, push higher. So, you know, follow me on Twitter, join me on Telegram, and you can see some of these trades that we take in the group or that we are watching. It's nice because you can trade the market both ways, and if Bitcoins decide to take a dumpity dump, doesn't mean that you can't still make some money. And as my final parting words as far as charts go, I just wanted to mention that some of the best Bitcoin reversal ideas begin with double bottoms. Higher lows are obviously good too, but if you ask me what I think could happen over the next day or two, again, like the beginning of the video, the SPX to me will definitely be the driving force, but what I would be looking for any sort of long positions would be a retest of somewhere back down here around, you know, 25,500 to 26,500, something down here, you know, to where essentially it puts in a double bottom, right? Comes down, retests the same area or even slightly higher. And then at that point, if we're pretty oversold on, you know, the 12 hour and everything, then, you know, I would be looking for some short-term trades at that point. Right now, I'm still not really touching longs until we see what happens in the morning and what Bitcoin does over the night. So I'll just leave you with that. Just always try to remember to be patient. If you're not in any trades right now, congratulations. You're obviously exercising patience. Patience is how you will always win when it comes to trading and stocks and crypto and, you know, all the said above. And what I mean by that is you don't always need to be in a trade. So right now we're kind of waiting for some structure to be built. If Bitcoin's going to test the lows again, that's actually a good thing as long as they hold up, of course. At some point there is going to be a reversal. I'm not saying that'll be a major reversal, but the price never goes one direction all the time. What goes up must go down, and what goes down, you know, typically has at least some sort of a bounce back to the upside, you know, to test some of the levels that were lost. So anyway, keep that in mind. Be patient. You know, follow me on my socials, and I'll keep you guys updated on what I'm doing. And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's